that you were in Zoom class today, but I understand life gets in the way. Maybe you weren't able to make it, but I'm telling you that there's a lot of things that we covered, but now you're going to need to cover them at home. One of the things that we talked about is practicing this speech. Now, if you haven't already looked on Google Classroom, obviously I'm going to show you some of the resources that are on Google Classroom too, but this is something that we talked about in speech class during our Zoom class. In fact, I would love for you to take a screenshot. Hopefully I look good in that screenshot. Okay, so here's the thing. You got to write your speech. Then you need to read your speech, then read your speech aloud, standing up, start highlighting main words and starting words. And then it is time to really start giving your speech aloud, standing up, focusing on things like your eye contact, hitting the time of 1 minute to 2 minutes, focusing on how your body is being used. Practice then until you feel comfortable. I always suggest to students to practice a 1 minute long speech for 10 minutes. But that means that you're going to have to make sure that you're giving that speech from the start to the end, beginning to end, whether or not you have mistakes, you just keep going. Practicing a 1 minute long speech is more about making sure that your body and your brain are prepared for the little hiccups that are going to happen, and not necessarily to memorize your speech or make it perfect, just being prepared. So we practicing in our Zoom class today, and then I told students that the night before they deliver their speech, they need to be practicing it again for 10 minutes. What else we talked about in our Zoom class today is the audience grade that's going to be put into the grade book. You guys are going to be an audience member quite often in this class. And so I'm asking for some simple things like being quiet when the speaker is talking. Laughing is okay when it's prompted, but don't make comments to the speakers. Don't make a comment to your friends. Look at the speaker. Avoid all distracting behavior, whether that be funny noises or loud noises or doing homework. Keep your head up, do not put it down, and make sure that you clap appropriately. Now, I understand that in 9th and 10th grade, especially at things like pep assemblies, it may have been really cool back then to clap super loud or to not care or not clap at all, or to do what I like to call the overclap, which is when it's obvious that the clapping has stopped, but you're gonna keep it going. But here's the thing about being a good audience member. It's really about making sure that the speaker feels comfortable from beginning to end. And so doing something like taking attention off of all the amazing things that they just accomplished in front of the room and putting negative attention on you because you're not clapping appropriately is not something that I'm going to stand for. And it also makes it really hard for everyone to progress in this class. So what happens when you avoid being a good listener or a good audience member? Well, I'm going to deduct points every time you do that. But I also want to have a little side note here. If any students in my class are caught taking pictures or video records a student without their permission, this is automatic grounds for referral. I don't stand for those types of things because this class already comes with a heightened level of anxiety that we don't need to add somebody using Snapchat or any other type of picture or video from our class to make people feel more anxious. So when does this start? Next week. Yeah, because we're giving speeches next week. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is it going to look like on speech day? What is it going to feel like? Well, everybody in the class is going to be a speaker. So you may want to relook at the sign up genius that is linked to Google Classroom. You're going to want to have your note card ready, have your iPad ready to record the speech that you are giving, and try to stay calm. Everybody's going to do just fine on this first speech. I'm going to give you some really important, valuable feedback, and hopefully it'll make you feel better. Now, I wanted to show you what it will actually look like when you walk up to the podium. And so this is the table that's going to be set up, and there is already what I would like to call the perfect stand to set up your iPad. So all you do is you put your iPad into this makeshift stand and make sure that the camera can see you going up to the podium. So in that way, when you're done with your speech, you will now have this very valuable video to upload into your capstone portfolio. So that way you have that all done. Yeah, like I'm doing right here in this video. Yeah, there I go. Yay. Now, I want to show you then what will happen afterwards is that you will, because it's like a back view of what you'll do. So you'll give your speech, right? And then you'll go over and you'll pick up your iPad. And then that's when we're going to sanitize things like the podium and sanitize that table with a wipe before the next person gets up. There were some other questions that came about as a result of our Zoom class. Here are some of them. Someone asked, am I required to attend class next week? Well, yes, virtual students will need to log into Zoom to watch their classmates' speeches. And those of you who are in-person hybrid learners will be asked to log into Zoom on the virtual learning days to watch the virtual students give their speeches. And I asked someone asked me, when's the second speech due? When do I write it? Well, it's due on Friday, September 25th on Google Classroom. It's the second Flipgrid Friday, but I'm going to ask that you not use Flipgrid. I'm going to need you to wait to write this speech until after you deliver your first speech and get your goals. And the second speech then will be determined using the rubric and your improvement areas. So try not to skip ahead and write this second speech. Focus on tell me a little bit about yourself, but do know that we're going to do it like we did for the first Flipgrid Friday, that you use Google Classroom and upload that video that way. Someone asked me, do I need to turn anything in on Google Classroom for the Tell Me About Yourself assignment? No, that's just where the rubric is. That's more for me, so in that way you get your feedback immediately after your speech. When do you turn in your checklist? At the earliest, you should be turning it in on Sunday night. I designed the checklist so that you can use it to make sure you feel better about what's coming your way. So you should be even using it the morning of your speech. It means it gives you time to look at it, check it, and then upload it to the Google Classroom assignment for the checklist. Someone asked me, what happens if I'm sick and I'm supposed to give my speech? What do I do? You must email me before your scheduled class period. In the subject line of your email, make sure you put your name and your class period, so in that way I can go back and check. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but you must email me. I also got asked, what if I don't give this speech? You have to give this speech. What if I am super nervous? That's normal, actually. Try some of the following things. Bring water to class and drink it before you go. Dress to impress. Practice your speech the night before for 10 minutes. Make sure you know where your note cards are, or your note card is, and focus on breathing when you get to class. And someone asked, how do I get an A? Well, that's easy. There's 4 things you do. Have your note card, hit the 1 to 2 minute time requirement, turn in the checklist on Google Classroom, and give your speech. Now you might be saying, wait, do I have to come to school on Friday? Virtual school? I'm going to tell you, of course, you can definitely come. It is a teacher in-service day. And so I will be available on Zoom if you have any questions. And if I am in any way, shape, or form in a training and you come to my Zoom and you're in the waiting room, I'll send you a message. But on Friday, you should be emailing or calling your potential capstone mentors, finishing your tell me a little bit about yourself speech note card, and feel free to join me. I'm going to be doing things like updating grades, making and posting the week 5's to-do list, hanging out on Zoom in case you need me. I'm going to, of course, email your parents, let them know about the sign-up sheet for the tell me a little bit about yourself, and then I'll be doing teacher in-service stuff. But I just want to remind you that the things that we're doing in class are all now linked to the classroom section of Google classwork section of Google Classroom. So there's a warm-up video, the sign-up sheet. So if you need to go back and figure out what order you're in or make sure you know the date. And if you were absent when we signed up this week, I signed you up. This gives you access to the class website, our Google Classroom folder. The checklist assignment is right here, and so is the PDF if you want to turn it in digitally. The expectations and the rubric, and then this is the rubric that I'm going to use to grade you when you go. So I hope this helps you out. I know that it's really rushed and fast, but when we were in Zoom class, we did a lot of activity-based assignments. And so did you finish your note card? People would finish it. Hey, let's have you practice for 10 minutes. People would practice for 10 minutes. Some people asked me some questions about the capstone. So you may want to join me on Zoom if you have any of those. But no matter how I look at it, we're starting these speeches next week, and I cannot wait to hear a little bit more about you.